Ben, would you like to introduce your colleagues from the Youth Council? And we've got a presentation, a short presentation from you, and allow you to proceed. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thanks to the Planning Committee for allowing us to come here today and present to you on putting a T2 lane down Pakuranga Road. Beside me is the Chair of the Howick Youth Council, Jack Collins, our Communications Lead, Ira Lee, and I'm the Deputy Chair. And I'll pass over to Jack to first give you some information about the T2 lane.
Kia ora. Well, firstly, I just want to thank you guys for having me today. This is my first time in a meeting room like this. So firstly, I want to start talking about is the T2 lane consultation. So for those who don't know, the T2 lane being built in Pakuranga is the outermost westbound lane on Pakuranga Road. Now, why we did consultation was that we saw that AT wasn't doing any consultation with the wider public. And we wanted to do consultation that specifically targeted the youth of Howick. Now, the reason we're doing this was because in previous years, we have an event called the Youth Summit. Now, with the Youth Summit, we gather 100 students from each school into a space, and we do like a workshop with them about issues in Howick. And one issue that pops up every year is the issues with public transport. Now, with that, we found that yes, there was issues with the public transport, but there was a lack of consultation around that. Now, some of the findings that we got from our consultation was that 70% of all 97 respondents supported the introduction of the westbound T2 bus lane on Pakuranga Road. 76% of the 66 respondents aged 13 to 24 supported the introduction of a westbound T2 lane on Pakuranga Road. Public transport users, 93%, 28 respondents on the total 97 were in favour of the T2 lane. Car users, a little over half. So basically, as a youth council, we want to take a position that we don't for or against, but we do want to highlight that the majority of youth surveyed were in favour of the T2 and Park and Ride from Lloyd Alsmore. And our ask is that next time a project comes around, we want consultation.
Lovely, thank you very much. So now we're talking about the public transport challenge that we were fortunate enough to be able to take part of. Our local councillors, Paul and Sharon. So we partnered with the Howick and Pakuranga Community Patrol, and we travelled to Mangere and Henderson work destinations just to see what travelling to those destinations was like on public transport. And again, thank you for letting us take part in this challenge, and we really enjoyed working with the councillors, and we welcome the continuation of consulting with youth on public transport issues, and especially consulting them in a meaningful manner. So looking not just at work routes, but also looking at, for example, university routes or routes that students take to go to school.
Awesome. So we'd also like to talk about some broader transport issues that we've identified in East Auckland. The first of those is obviously the higher fares, which I know several councillors spoke out about and criticised. So we particularly want to highlight that youth are heavily impacted by this change. Many young people often operate on tight budgets and therefore don't have enough money to afford, have limited funds to afford their transport into university or to wherever they need to go. So by raising fares, that's putting further pressure on young people and making public transport less accessible for them. So in our work as the Howick Youth Council and talking to youth on our council and the community, there's definitely been an issue identified with that cost of public transport and the fact that increasing fare prices won't help that. So we'd like to support the stance of the councils, of many of the councillors, in saying that that's bad and that it's going to further damage the processes and work to encourage more young people particularly to take public transport. We also have some other broader issues that we've identified with public transport in the community. Firstly, in East Auckland, we have a number of parts of the area that are still inaccessible from public transport as a result of the new network that was implemented last year, particularly around Bucklands Beach, Howick and Cockle Bay. It's taking young people and all public transport users a long time to actually get to a bus stop. Secondly, the train issue. So we still have not high frequency train networks running on the eastern line, which is the one through Panmure. So that's something we're concerned about. And then thirdly, overcrowding on some key routes, the 70 and the 72 in our area. But going back to what Jack said, we think that while there is plenty of issues and plenty of challenges with public transport, the key thing is consulting with the community, and the Auckland Transport communicates with the community when they put in place a new project like the T2 lane, or when making decisions around public transport in East Auckland. We were concerned when we saw that when the T2 lane being implemented without that consultation, because there wasn't an opportunity for the community, and particularly young people who have a vested interest in public transport, to have their say. So we are asking the council today to continue to highlight to Auckland Transport the importance of consultation, and potentially look into how there can be greater consultation done around the T2 lane that is being implemented. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben and team. That's terrific. Just on the T2 bus lane, I'm recommending that we pass a motion acknowledging the Howick Youth Council and refer their submission, and I'll ask Councillor Stewart and Councillor Young to move and second that, to refer it to Auckland Transport for their investigation and advice back to us. And I think a memo back to us is appropriate. And just on the fare issue, thank you for raising that. And yes, the Mayor, myself and Councillor Hills have written to the Minister on that particular issue, and you'll see that outgoing letter and the Minister's response attached to this agenda actually in the information section. And on the train frequency, we've just got notification after public feedback, the regional public transport plan has now been confirmed. So if you can maybe look at that and just see what the final frequencies are going forward for the next few years. Questions, please. Councillor Stewart.
Oh, thank you. First of all, I'd just like to thank you for doing what you've done. It's echoing as somebody, you've got your one still on. Yeah, sorry. Oh, seems to be, I've got an echoing one. I want to thank you for doing what you did, and yes, Councillor Young and I, we approached you and the community patrollers, so we thought we'd get a young and an older set of people to go and experience what it would be like to catch public transport in a real situation, getting to work. And unfortunately, it was still a holiday time, so it wasn't quite what, maybe we could do it again later on. I'd like to try it again if we could. But, you know, in the real world, a lot of people have to catch up to 3 to 4 forms of public transport to get to work. And so it was quite interesting. The one that I really wanted to test out was one that's quite close to home, which is in Penrose, which is the Noel Lemming one, so we'll get you to test that sometime. And, you know, what would take 15 minutes in a car can probably take you a couple of hours in a bus, you know, and so that's something. But on the consultation, it's really good that you've been out there with the consultation. And as you're aware, Simeon Brown actually had an evening where he had consultation, and the mood of the people at that consultation, it was like a full house, was definitely, they were very concerned about the bus lane and the T2, which will be coming at us on the 18th of April. So that's a really big test for Auckland Transport. And the mood of the meeting was that if there are problems with it, could it be changed back? And I think that needs to be looked at, because Pakarenga Road, as everybody knows, is one of the busiest roads in New Zealand. If it was a highway, it would be the 4th busiest highway in New Zealand. And Pakarenga Road has so many streets that come out onto Pakarenga Road that I think even the designers, and I think Auckland Transport that were there, were actually listening, and they actually asked me for me to get some of the people that were there to talk to them a bit later on about it, because they were really concerned about how people coming out of Gossamer Drive and other roads, how they'd actually be able to get through the T2. Just one other thing, and then perhaps Councillor Young might like to have something to say, but another little project I'd really love for you to do is.
If we could maybe just ask them a question, because
Okay.
at this stage it's most important to get some feedback from the Youth Council.
All right. Well, would you be happy to stand out at 6 o'clock in the morning, 2 or 3 mornings 1 week, just to see how many T2s? And I think you'll find there's only, the other day I was there for a couple of hours and there was only one T2, and it happened to be Councillor Young and his daughter. He was taking her to university, so everybody was T1s, because most people, are you aware? Most people actually work at the airport or in Onehunga, Avondale, Papakura, all over. Not so many actually work in the CBD. Thank you.
Awesome. Firstly, in terms of the concerns that were expressed in the meeting, definitely that's why we think we need more consultation. In terms of the time concerns, there was modelling done by Mott McDermott, which showed that there would be increases in time taken due to amity work, and that there would be a net benefit for both car users and public transport users as a result of the T2 lane. But those concerns around turning in from Cascades and Gossamer Road onto Pakuranga Road was raised, and we hope that AT will consult and will be able to resolve those. In terms of the counting the number of T2 users, Mott McDermott also did modelling on that and did some research and stood out there and counted cars. They found that 87% of vehicles were T1 and 13% were T2 or T3. So 75% of people were were single occupant vehicles, and 25% of users of Pakuranga Road were in T2 or T3 vehicles.
Thank you, Ben. Councillor Cashmore, please.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Good presentation, guys. Well done. And we'd love to hear from the new users of our PT networks. The specific issue you're talking about is the time of connecting from your home to the bus network and vice versa going back. Have you done any research into the smart cities transporting network on that first last mile kilometre where it's been done trial through Asia, particularly out of Singapore?
I'm not sure. I don't think we're aware specifically of that work, but certainly we compared with the new transport link. The concern was that there were a number of routes that went through those areas that we talked about, which were removed because of the changing of the model. The idea that because you've got high frequency between key hubs, then that's okay if it takes slightly longer. The concern is that there are definitely that some of those links that do run through don't go to useful places. So we have a lot of transport networks that focus on a lot of our links in those areas that go into Half Moon Bay, but there are still large parts of our community that can't afford the cost of a ferry or don't want to take the ferry into the city, and so then have to get more buses linking through to Botany and on. So that's accessibility in the broader sense of where those routes are going, as well as the time taken to get to bus stops.
I'd really encourage you to have a look at that first last mile work out of Singapore, because I think it might be a partial solution for your area.
Councillor Collins, please.
Thank you, Chair. It's me.
Oh, you're all squeaking too.
Very squeaky at this end on our mics. Just a couple of questions, please, Chair. Firstly, congratulations. I love it when young people come and present to our committees, and I think it takes a bit of a step. And so well done, because I think it shows real courage, and you're speaking on behalf of your youth council, so welcome. And Ben, I know personally, Mr. Chair, so Ben, good to see you. I just had a couple of questions. My first one was, as the liaison to the youth panel, would you be interested in presenting to the youth panel or giving us your submission, because many of the things you talked about run in alignment with where the youth panel was sitting?
Yeah, absolutely, that would be awesome.
My other question was slightly broader, and I'm just interested in your reflections on it, and that is, I get the impression that the work that you're undertaking is an attempt to maybe bridge the gap between expectations of public transport, between maybe my lived experience, which was always in a car, and out south we do depend a lot on the cars, and those who are maybe young people or young families who are trying to become higher users of public transport. You up to the challenge of helping to bridge that gap of expectations? Because I think that's where you're leading to.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's definitely a part of what we're trying to do. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, Councillor Collins. Councillor Hills, please.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Chair. thank you all for coming in and speaking to us. As Councillor Collins and others have said, it's good to have some younger people in presenting to us. Yeah, I'm lucky in my area to have a T3 lane, so I can get to work in 28 minutes on the bus from Glenfield, due to the T3 lane we've had for 30 years, I think, and about 70% of humans in that corridor are travelling down the T3 at peak, and that's obviously because you've got an incentive to get the bus or T3. So obviously, I haven't experienced the Pakuranga issues you guys are facing, but I guess what is the experience you're having right now in the bus? Are you basically just stuck in the normal traffic, so you're just like anyone else? Is that kind of why you're back in the T2?
Yeah, I took the bus here this morning, and you get onto Pakuranga Road, and then there's a significant delay because you're stuck in traffic just like any other vehicle. So obviously, when you want to decrease travel times on public transport to incentivise more people to use it, being stuck in traffic and being essentially just like any other car is really bad, and it significantly increases travel times, because once you get past Pakuranga, the rest of the networks has its issues, but it's broadly okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Simpson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to echo in more ways than one, the comments from my colleagues around welcome, and it's great to see you presenting. Look, my question is actually around what we put up for Resolution B. So what you've presented that you actually want Auckland Transport to seriously look at this T2, right? And yet what we're actually saying in B is that we're referring you to Auckland Transport for their consideration. My question is, would you prefer us not to ask them to consider it? We're asking them to do it.
They are doing it on the 18th of April.
Right.
Yes.
So I just wondered if Resolution B was then
They're
reflective
not
of
even going to listen to us.
whether Resolution B reflected.
So just if I can say, Auckland Transport are looking at considerable number of kilometres of road space reallocation at the moment. So this sits with the work streams that they've got underway, and I think by referring it there and for us to get some feedback on how they considered it and possibly intend to take action, we'll hear likely a positive response.
Yeah, we're here to present the consultation, but we also want to reflect the fact of those results. So 70% in favour based on our consultation. There are definitely some strong positives for it, as we've talked about around the benefits of the public transport network. However, as Councillor Stewart raised, and as was raised at the public meeting, there definitely are some concerns around specific parts of the T2 lane and how it works. So broadly doing some more consultation on those particular issues to support it and to increase public support would be beneficial. But as part of the broader public transport network, the modelling that's been done indicates it will be positive.
Can I just take that a bit further? Councillor Simpson, would you like to have a more affirmative expression of the Planning Committee's position in that resolution? I'm happy to test that.
Yeah, well, that was my question to the presenters actually. I've got Councillor Stewart, who obviously knows this issue more than I, so I was actually just trying to.
Yeah, I need your microphone, please.
Is that better?
Yeah.
So I was asking the presenters whether they felt B reflected what they wanted to achieve, or whether they would like it worded slightly differently.
Ben.
We want our consultation heard by public transport. I think that our discussion is that we're comfortable with that wording. We hope that if Auckland Transport look at our consultation and do a bit more work around some of the issues that have been identified, that then they'd be able to make adjustments and clearly show that there's public support, and then be able to action it. But for the purposes of what we want to do, which is represent the voice of youth in our community, we're happy with just the consultation that we've done, the positive sentiment that's been expressed through that being shared with Auckland Transport. We don't want to take a position on it.
And finally, Councillor Bartley, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and through you. Thank you for your presentation. Really good to hear from all of you. I wanted to know why you're not taking a position on it, and whether you will, because your voice is very important. And, you know, you're either for something or against it. So really want to know why. Thank you.
So we're a youth group in the community. We've been doing the consultation shows that there is strong support, but there's not overwhelming support. There's not absolute support. And for us, our priority is representing young people's voices. And but that doesn't involve taking a big stand, trying to say that this is absolutely the only way that we can do that. We want to, by doing that consultation, show what you think, share that with you guys, and then hope that you can use that information to take positions as elected politicians and stand by them. We don't think that, as our role as just representatives of the community, that that's within our mandate to take a position like that.
And finally, Councillor Young.
Thank you very much, through the chair. Actually, every day we have more than 50,000 cars in the Pakuranga. And the research sample you got is 97 research. And I think last week we have a public meeting, and actually looks like the majority actually against the T2. And so I would like to, AT can have more consultation or research for the local public. And I think that's quite important, but thank you very much for you guys coming here. And the other thing is the T2, my experience, for example, like Birkenhead to the motorway to the city, the T3 line actually rides through the motorway, but the Pakuranga road is slightly different. We're talking about T2, but it's not a ride through the whole line T2. That's a piece by piece. So that will be traffic. Even we are talking about T2, but actually just only part of the Pakuranga road. I think that the AT need to do more research and then before the starting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Councillor Young. And it's moved by Councillor Stewart, seconded by Councillor Young. And on behalf of all of us, Ben and Jack and Ira, thank you so much for coming in. And please convey that to your whole council. It's great to see you, and I echo what Councillor Collins and Councillor Bartley offered to you here today and the acknowledgement. Thank you. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Contrary, no. Declare that carried.